Hola, buen día y bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenidequis a esta lección de los verbos Sweet 16. The Sweet 16 verbs are the most commonly used verbs in the Spanish language, so it's really important that we learn to use them in our writing and speaking, and that we learn to identify them when we are reading or listening. All of these verbs are going to be given in the third person singular conjugation in the present tense. The third person singular conjugation is the él, ella conjugation. Let's begin. Our first verb is puede. It comes from the verb poder, and notice that this O becomes a we. This is called the stem changing verb. Perhaps you are familiar with these, but we will see them later on. Puede means can or is able to. Now, typically, we put puede with an infinitive, as in, ella puede hablar en español. Right. Our next verb is pone, from the infinitive poner. It means puts. Now, a lot of our expressions with poner are idiomatic in nature, so they don't quite translate exactly word for word. For example, pone la mesa, which means he or she sets the table. Our next verb is quiere, which comes from the infinitive querer. Notice we have another stem changing verb. Quiere means wants, as in the example, él quiere un perrito. He wants a puppy. We can also use quiere with an infinitive verb to say wants to do something. For example, él quiere viajar a España. He wants to travel to Spain. Our next verb is sabe. Coming from the infinitive saber, it means knows. Information, not necessarily knows a person. That would be the verb conocer. Now, sabe can also be combined with an infinitive to express knows how to do something. For example, el hombre sabe nadar muy bien. The man knows how to swim very well. Our next verb is sale, from the infinitive verb salir, and it means leaves or goes out. You see three specific examples of combinations that we would use with the verb sale. Sale de la casa would be something like she leaves her house. Sale con amigos los fines de semana. That'd be something like he or she goes out with friends on the weekends, all right? Or sale a comer. That would be something like he goes out to eat, right? Like going to a restaurant. Our next verb is es, from the infinitive ser, and it means is. Now, this typically can be used to make a characterization, as in, la clase es muy interesante. Our next verb is tiene, from the infinitive tener, and again, we have a stem changing verb. Tiene means has. One of the most common expressions with tiene is tiene que infinitive, and it expresses has to do something. For example, él tiene que estudiar para el examen. He has to study for his test. Our next verb is trae, from the infinitive traer. It means brings. If you are dining out in a Spanish-speaking country and the mesera or mesero, the wait staff, comes to your table, you could ask a question like, ¿Me trae un vaso de agua, por favor? Our next verb is da, from the infinitive dar. Da means gives, as in the example, le da un regalo. He gives him a gift, or she gives her a gift, or any of those combinations. Our next verb is dice. From the infinitive decir, notice the stem change from e to I here. Dice means says or tells. As in the example, le dice hola. He tells him hello. Our next verb is está. From the infinitive estar, notice the accent in this conjugation. It means is. But this one is the está or is of location or feelings. The previous is, if you recall, es, that was more for characterization, okay? But when you're talking about the location of someone or something, or how someone is feeling, we're going to use está instead of es. As in the examples, está feliz, he's happy. Or está triste, he's sad. Or está en su casa, he's in his house. Our next verb is hace. From the infinitive hacer, hace means does or makes. And a lot of expressions with hace are idiomatic in nature. A lot of weather expressions will use hace, as in the examples, hace calor, it's hot. Hace frío, it's cold. We can also use hace to describe what sound an animal or something else makes, as in, la vaca hace mu. Our next verb is va. From the infinitive ir, notice that this is a very irregular verb and that the conjugation looks almost nothing like the infinitive verb. Va means goes, as in the expression va a casa, like she goes home. Or the idiomatic expression va de compras, she goes shopping. Our next verb is ve. From the infinitive ver, it means sees. As in the examples, ve a su hermano, he or she sees his brother. Or the idiomatic expression se ve bien, he looks good. Or se ve mal, he looks bad. Our next verb is oye. From the infinitive oír, notice the accent over the I in the infinitive form and how that will change to y in its conjugated form. Oye means hears, or it could be an interjection meaning hey, as in these two examples. Oye algo espantoso, he hears something scary. Or oye amigo, or oye amiga, can be like hey buddy, or hey friend. And finally, our last verb today is viene. From the infinitive verb venir, notice stem change occurs here. This verb means comes, as in the expression viene a casa al fin. Finally, he comes home. And now it is time for you to do a little speaking and writing practice. This next activity is called a dictation. You are going to hear examples of each of these Sweet 16 verbs 3 times each. I say each example fast, then slow, and then fast again. After you hear the example the slow time, I will pause the video so you can practice saying the expression that I give. After the 3rd time that I give the example, please type out what you have heard and said. Good luck.
El águila puede volar. El águila puede volar. El águila puede volar. El pingüino no puede volar. El pingüino no puede volar. El pingüino no puede volar. Ella pone la mesa. Ella pone la mesa. Ella pone la mesa. Se pone el sol. Se pone el sol. Se pone el sol. La niña quiere helado. La niña quiere helado. La niña quiere helado. El científico sabe mucho. El científico sabe mucho. El científico sabe mucho. La familia sale de la casa. La familia sale de la casa. La familia sale de la casa. Es un bebé muy tierno. Es un bebé muy tierno. Es un bebé muy tierno. El muchacho tiene hambre. El muchacho tiene hambre. El muchacho tiene hambre. El chef trae la comida. El chef trae la comida. El chef trae la comida. El árbol le da al chico una manzana. El árbol le da al chico una manzana. El árbol le da al chico una manzana. El perro hace wow, wow, wow. El perro hace wow, wow, wow. El perro hace wow, wow, wow. ¿Dónde está la leche? ¿Dónde está la leche? ¿Dónde está la leche? Hoy día hace calor. Hoy día hace calor. Hoy día hace calor. La rana va a la escuela. La rana va a la escuela. La rana va a la escuela. La muchacha ve a las estrellas. La muchacha ve a las estrellas. La muchacha ve a las estrellas. Ella oye un sonido. Ella oye un sonido. Ella oye un sonido. Oye, amigo, tranquilo. Oye, amigo, tranquilo. Oye, amigo, tranquilo. La mujer viene a casa. La mujer viene a casa. La mujer viene a casa.
Sweet 16. Our lesson has come to an end, but there is more practice to be done. So, a trabajar. Gracias y adiós.